You are hungry, your stomach growls, and without even thinking, you open the pantry. Maybe you grab a bag of chips, a granola bar, or a bowl of cereal. It feels completely normal. But here's the first strange thing. For almost 99% of human history, none of those foods existed. There were no supermarkets, no refrigerators, and no packaged snacks. Every meal had to be found, gathered, or hunted. And if you failed, you simply didn't eat. But that's not the strangest part. Despite living this way for hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors didn't just survive. They built the human brain. They crossed entire continents. They adapted to deserts, forests, and ice ages without calories printed on labels, without vitamins in bottles, and without a single processed meal. So why does the modern world tell us we need all of those things? Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Scientists now believe your body is still following rules written tens of thousands of years ago. Rules that today's food completely ignores, and that might explain why obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic disease have exploded in just the last few generations. So what did ancient humans actually eat? Was it really just meat, or have we misunderstood the ancient diet all along? The story begins long before the first supermarket ever existed. For a moment, forget everything you know about food. Forget supermarkets, restaurants, and food delivery. Imagine waking up tomorrow with nothing to eat. No pantry, no refrigerator, no guarantee that you'll find your next meal. That wasn't an emergency for your ancestors, it was simply life. Here's what most people never realize. For almost all of human history, humans lived as hunter-gatherers. Every morning began with the same question. Can we find enough food before the sun goes down? Sometimes the answer was yes. Sometimes it wasn't. There were no farms, no cities, and no stocked kitchens. Just forests, rivers, grasslands, and whatever nature decided to offer that day. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Your ancestors didn't live this way for hundreds or even thousands of years. They lived this way for hundreds of thousands of years. In comparison, agriculture only appeared around 12,000 years ago. That's less than 1% of our history as a species. For almost everything that made us human, farming simply didn't exist. And that's important because evolution doesn't move at the speed of civilization. It moves at the speed of generations. While the world around us changed rapidly, our biology didn't. The brain inside your head today isn't very different from the one carried by a hunter walking across an ice age landscape. Your metabolism was shaped in that same world, where food could disappear for days and every calorie mattered. Here's the strange part. Your body still behaves as if that world exists. It craves sweet foods because sugar was once incredibly rare. It stores extra energy because the next meal was never guaranteed. And it treats hunger not as a crisis, but as something completely normal. In other words, you're living in the most food-rich environment in human history with a body designed for one of the most unpredictable. And that raises a much bigger question. If our bodies haven't changed very much, what exactly were they designed to eat? The answer is probably very different from what you've been told. If you asked most people what ancient humans ate, the answer would probably be the same. Meat, and even more meat. After all, that's how movies usually portray them. A caveman holding a spear, standing over a giant mammoth, cooking steaks over a fire. It's a great story. There's just one problem. It isn't the whole story. Here's what archaeologists have discovered. For most hunter-gatherers, meat wasn't the main meal. It was the bonus. The real menu looked very different. On a typical day, your ancestors were far more likely to eat berries than beef. They dug up roots buried beneath the soil, collected tubers packed with energy, gathered nuts and seeds whenever they were in season. Along rivers and coastlines, fish and shellfish became reliable sources of food. Even insects were on the menu, not because they enjoyed eating them, but because they were full of protein, easy to catch, and available when larger animals weren't. And here's something that surprises many people. Honey existed, but finding it wasn't easy. There were no beekeepers, no grocery stores, and no jars sitting on a shelf. Finding honey often meant climbing tall trees while thousands of angry bees defended their hive. The reward was worth it, but the risk was real, which meant sweet food was a rare treat, not an everyday habit. But here's the biggest myth of all. People imagine hunter-gatherers eating meat every single day. In reality, hunting was incredibly difficult. A successful hunt could take hours, sometimes days, and sometimes it ended with nothing. Imagine chasing an animal across rough ground using nothing but a wooden spear, no vehicles, no rifles, no guarantee of success. If the animal escaped, you didn't simply try another supermarket. You went home hungry. That's why ancient humans couldn't depend on meat alone. The foods they could gather, berries, roots, nuts, seeds, fruit, and edible plants, were often the difference between eating and starving. Their diet wasn't built around one perfect food. It was built around whatever nature was willing to give them that day. And that's exactly what made it so different from ours. Today, we eat the same foods every week, every day, sometimes every meal. But for our ancestors, every season changed the menu. Every landscape offered something different, and every meal was unpredictable. At first, that sounds like a disadvantage. But here's where the story takes another unexpected turn. That unpredictability may have been one of the healthiest parts of the ancient diet. By now, you might be thinking the secret was the food itself. More berries, more roots, less processed food, And yes, that mattered, but it wasn't the biggest difference. Here's what most people never stop to consider. Ancient humans didn't just eat different foods, they ate at completely different times. There was no breakfast waiting every morning, no lunch break, no late night snack, no refrigerator to open whenever they felt a little hungry. Food followed nature's schedule, not theirs. Some days, a hunt ended in success. Other days, it didn't. Some seasons were filled with fruit, others offered almost nothing. And sometimes, the only thing on the menu was patience. At first, that sounds like a terrible way to live, but here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Your body was built for exactly that kind of life. It learned that going hours without food wasn't an emergency, it was normal. When food was available, eat. When it wasn't, keep moving. Keep hunting, keep surviving. Without realizing it, ancient humans gave their bodies something that has almost disappeared today: time. Time to burn the energy they had already stored. Time to rest their digestive system. Time to switch from using today's meal to using yesterday's. Scientists call this metabolic flexibility, but the idea is surprisingly simple. Your body can run on the food you've just eaten, or it can run on the energy you've already stored. For hundreds of thousands of years, it constantly switched between the two. Not because people were following a health trend, not because they were trying to lose weight, because they had no other choice. Now compare that to today. Many of us eat within minutes of waking up. We snack before lunch, eat lunch, snack again, have dinner, and then eat once more while watching television. For the first time in human history, our bodies rarely get a break. And that's the real twist. The biggest difference between the ancient diet and the modern diet wasn't just what people ate, it was how often they were able to eat, and that single change may have transformed the way our bodies respond to food today. Imagine buying the newest gaming PC, then installing Windows 95. It would still work, but not the way it was meant to. That's your body. The world upgraded. Your biology didn't. For hundreds of thousands of years, your brain lived in a world where sugar was rare, food was unpredictable, and every meal had to be earned. Then, in the blink of an evolutionary eye, everything changed. Supermarkets appeared, fast food became normal, processed snacks filled every shelf. For the first time in human history, the foods your ancestors searched days to find could be reached in just a few steps. But here's where things become dangerous. Your brain still reacts to those foods as if they're incredibly rare. Every bite of sugar tells your brain, this is valuable, eat more while you can. That's because sweet foods once meant survival. A handful of berries or a rare honeycomb could provide precious energy when the next meal wasn't guaranteed. Today, that same reward system is being triggered everywhere you look. Bright packaging, sweet drinks, desserts, processed snacks, foods are carefully designed to keep you coming back for another bite. Every time that happens, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that makes rewarding experiences feel good. Thousands of years ago, that system helped humans survive. Today, it's being activated over and over again by foods that never existed during our evolution. And there's another problem. Every time we eat, our bodies release a hormone called insulin. Its job is simple: move sugar from the bloodstream into our cells where it can be used or stored as energy. That system worked perfectly when meals were separated by long periods of hunting, gathering, and walking. But today's lifestyle is completely different. Many of us eat from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to bed. Breakfast, snacks, lunch, more snacks, dinner, dessert. Our bodies are constantly being asked to process another meal before they finish dealing with the last one. Over time, this constant cycle can overwhelm the very systems that once kept our ancestors alive. Scientists believe it plays a major role in rising rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and other metabolic diseases. The problem isn't that your body is broken. The problem is that it's trying to solve ancient survival challenges in a world that no longer plays by the same rules. And that's the biggest lesson of all. Your body isn't failing you. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. The real mismatch isn't between you and your diet. It's between an ancient brain and a modern food environment. So, does this mean you should throw away everything in your kitchen and start living like a caveman? Not at all. The lesson isn't to copy the Stone Age. The lesson is to understand it. Your body remembers a world your mind has forgotten, a world where food was real, meals were earned, movement was part of survival, and eating wasn't something you did out of boredom. That doesn't mean you need to hunt your own dinner or give up every modern convenience, but it does mean we can learn from the way our ancestors lived, choose whole foods more often, eat fewer ultra-processed foods, give your body time between meals, move every day, sleep the way your body was designed to. Small changes like these aren't about going backward, they're about reconnecting with the biology that made us human. Because sometimes, the best way to move forward is to remember where we came from. So here's my question for you. What's one processed food you think you can never give up? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy exploring how our past continues to shape the way we live today, subscribe and keep it ancient. Until next time.